What are we fighting for, brothers? We're fighting for a righteous world. 2 Peter 3:13. We're fighting for a world of total righteousness. We're fighting for a world where we're going to be exalted, where we're going to be lauded, where we're going to be praised as the people of the Most High, as the Israelites, as the elect of the nation of Israel. Think about that, man. The elect of the nation of Israel, part of the 144,000. Think about that. Huh? That alone should inspire you. There's even a song, man. Oh, when the saints come marching in. We're those saints that's going to come marching in. Oh, I want to be in that number. We're in that number. We believe that according to faith. Come on, brothers.
Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are they which do hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. Blessed are they which are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Lay not up for yourselves treasures upon earth, where moth and rust doth corrupt, and where thieves break through and steal. But lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust doth corrupt, and where thieves do not break through nor steal. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also.
All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakakadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples for us younger brothers. And peace and blessing and salutations to the hopeful lake out there pushing his word and truth and in sincerity across the four winds in the name of Yahweh Bashim Shai, pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful elect, the believers, the listeners whom have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Bashim Shai. All right. And want to continue on in the book of Acts. We made to the 25th chapter, and we're going to see that the Apostle Paul, has to appeal, to Caesar. Okay. So now, you still have, the Sanhedrin, these wicked niggas, trying to plot, on how they can kill the Apostle Paul. At this point, they want blood. Behind Yahweh Shai, they want blood. And we have to fully understand that as we read about this trial, just know there's a chance that there's going to be some brothers that's on trial, for the testimony of Yahweh Shai. Yahweh Shai told us that. Okay? So when you go, matter of fact, let's get it. Let's go here to Luke 21. Because as we go into, this home stretch, we go into these last days, before the return of Yahweh Shai, we know the persecution on Yahweh Shai is going to increase. Their name itself going to be demonized. All right, the ministry, the doctrine, what we teach is going to be demonized. Okay, and these people want blood, especially, they're in the kingdom that's declining. The kingdom that they love is declining. And just as Yahweh Shai, had to be a scapegoat. We're going to be a scapegoat. We're going to be the perfect, all right? We're going to be the perfect people to blame in this scenario. As Esau losing, niggas is losing, the nigga woman is losing, okay? They're going to be on the front line when it comes to the persecution, So for the testimony of Hawashai, just know that's part of the counting the cost. We can stand trial. You see? That's a part of it. And that's when our faith is going to have to be on another level, because we know it's not going to be fair. But the Lord got it figured out. Every scenario we go in, some brothers going to be on the run, on the move as pilgrims, okay? Some brothers going to get grabbed up, okay? There's a standard coming, so it's going to be different scenarios. But we just got to trust that he is. We got to trust the process, whatever that might be. Have our mind fixed on, one thing. It can be anything happen, man. We're going to find ourselves in some, some interesting situations based on our belief in Yahushua. Okay, now let's go here. In Luke 21:12, it said, this is the NLT, said, but before all this, there will be a time of great persecution. So we're already told about this. So when it comes, that's why I say if you we you see got a problem with being hated, that could be a problem. Because that's a part of it. You might be, in the world, because brothers are likable men. And to see that go to intense hatred could be a shock. Okay, but the Lord has already warned us to brace our minds, okay, for the type of hatred. He said, all men, when you go into it, says you will be dragged into synagogues and prison, and you will stand trial before kings and governors because you are my followers. And we're seeing the Apostle Paul go through this now. And there was a prelude for this time. There was a shadow for this time. Okay? It says you will be dragged into synagogues and prisons, and you will stand trial before kings and governors because you are my followers. So we know why. When we're in these situations, we know why. That means that we're following Yahushua. And it should be a faith booster. When we find ourselves in these circumstances that we're warned about in the scripture, it should be a faith booster, man. Because that's one step closer from being officially the elect. Luke 21:13 said, but this will be your opportunity to tell them about me. So don't worry in advance about how to answer the charges against you, for I will give you the right words and such wisdom that none of your opponents will be able to reply or refute you. Okay? So the Lord is going to give us utterance in those days. How about Shema Shai is going to give us utterance? Okay? The exact thing to say to confound the accusers. It's going to be directly, the Lord going to put a spirit of wisdom and utterance, okay, on whatever brother, okay, that light is. The Lord already got it set up. So we don't even have to meditate on what we will say in this scenario. Just trust. All right? Just trust, man. When we ask for our testimony and what we believe, the Lord already got it set up, man. That's already provided for, man. You see, the Lord got this thing mapped out. If that's brother's lot to, how to do that, hey, the Lord already got the testimony, okay, preordained. If we out and about as pilgrims, guess what? The Lord got provisions, food already preordained, man. It's already provided for, provisions. So any provision that we can need for any situation, the Lord already got that provided. It's already set up. We just gotta walk into it, with faith. Verse 16, even those closest to you your parents, brothers, relatives, and friends will betray you. They will even kill some of you, and everyone will hate you because you are my followers. Okay? So betrayal, that's a part of it. Okay? There's a part of those close to us, man. Betrayal is an option, man. That's a reality that we're gonna have to deal with. Okay, Lord, we're not the one, doing the betraying. That's the fear. Okay, but when these things happen, man, we gotta keep pushing. We gotta push on beyond the betrayal, beyond the persecution. Okay, but Yahweh letting us know, because you follow me, everyone will hate you. Okay, everyone outside of the elect, okay, is gonna have a hatred, man. And we know this devil, Esau Edom, he's the master manipulator when it comes to his propaganda. You see? And there's going to come a time where we're going to be the target of his propaganda machine. Read verse 18 said, but not a hair on your head will perish. Okay? So you're going to have those that are martyrs, and then you're going to have those that not a hair on their head going to perish. But either way, we got to keep the faith. You can't bend the knee, can't denounce Yahweh. So if it's a death, it's going to be an honorable death. Okay? And it's going to be rewarded. And then on the flip end, there's going to be a standard as well, to where hair on, our head not going to be perished. But either way, it's a victory. Death or spiritual powers, it's a victory. Okay? And we stay faithful to our King. So going back to Acts, Apostle Paul, he's in this situation, because he's being brought before, a king. Okay, as we're going to see King Agrippa, come on the scene. So it says, Acts 25:1 said, 3 days after Festus arrived in Caesarea to take over his new responsibilities, he left for Jerusalem. So Festus is the new governor in the stead of Felix. It says, where the leading priests and other Israelite leaders met him and made their accusation against Paul. They asked Festus as a favor to transfer Paul to Jerusalem, planning to ambush him and kill him on the way. All right, wicked niggas still plot. But it said, but Festus replied that Paul was at Caesarea and he himself will be returning there soon. So he said, those of you in authority can return with me. If Paul has done anything wrong, you can make your accusations. About 8 or 10 days later, Festus returned to Caesarea, and on the following day, he took his seat in court in order that Paul be brought in. When Paul arrived, the Israelite leaders from Jerusalem gathered around and made many serious accusations they couldn't prove. Paul denied the charges. I am not guilty of any crime against the Israelite laws or the temple of the Roman government, he said. Then Festus, wanted to please the Jews, asked him, are you willing to go to Jerusalem and stand trial before me there? But Paul replied, no, this is the official Roman court, so I ought to be tried right here. You know very well I am not guilty of harming the Jews. And Paul knew what them niggas was up to. He knew that there were them niggas talking through, all right, Agrippa, okay, trying to get them back to Jerusalem where they can, plot. They were going to do an ambush. So Paul like, nah, we in the Roman courts. I'm a Roman citizen. Try me right here. Okay, because he knew that he wasn't guilty. It wasn't about being guilty. He knew that them niggas, and that's just a goddamn shame. The Roman government was more merciful than niggas, man. You see? That's a goddamn shame that the Roman government was more merciful than niggas, man. These niggas gonna come out the woodwork, man. The nigga and the nigga woman are gonna come out the woodwork and they're gonna want blood, man. Okay? These nigga women that have had these little, these little flings with these Hebrew men, with Jake that know they Israelites, and some of them Jakes here bugged out, and okay, because he know how to pick them. Okay, so you're gonna have these little bitter, ex-Hebrew women gonna click up, and you see these random niggas that just they're gonna come out the woodworks, man. They're gonna come out of everywhere, and they're gonna want blood. It said Festus conferred with his advisors and then replied, "Very well, you have appealed to Caesar, and to Caesar you will go." So Apostle Paul appealed to Caesar. Okay, like, look, man, take me to Caesar, man. I know what these niggas are on. Okay, at least I stand some type of, even though the system is corrupt, I might can get a little justice, from Caesar. Okay, it said a few days later, King Agrippa arrived with his sister Bernice to pay their respects, all right, to Festus. During their stay of several days, Festus discussed Paul's case with the king. "There is a prisoner here," and told him, "whose case was left for me by Felix." Okay, so now King Agrippa, comes on the scene. Okay, which he's a descendant of Herod. All right, he's of the Herodian dynasty. It says, "When I was in Jerusalem, the leading priests and Israelite leaders pressed charges against him and asked me to condemn him. I pointed out to them that Roman law does not convict people without a trial. They must be given the opportunity to confront their accusers and defend themselves. When his accusers came here for the trial, I didn't delay. I called the case the very next day and ordered Paul brought in. But the accusations made against him weren't any of the crimes I expected. Instead, it was something about their religion and a dead man named Yahushua, who Paul insisted is alive." So to Festus, it was like, look, they arguing about something that I don't know too much about, and Paul talking about this dead man, Yahushua, and Paul say he alive, and these niggas say he ain't. So Festus was like, look, I don't even know what they talking about. Okay, so he brings in Agrippa, which Agrippa was this imposter, because the Herodian dynasty was imposter kings, okay, of the Jews, so they knew the customs, so he's going to King Agrippa to get, counsel about, okay, what is this doctrine they're arguing about, okay, and Roman law didn't persecute, based on doctrine, as long as the doctrine didn't cause uprisings, all right, riots and uprisings, okay, and that's why they was trying to make sedition be a charge, okay, they was reaching for sedition, because though a charge like that, is punishable by Roman law, okay, but believing Yahushua resurrected, well, that wasn't punishable according to Roman law. You see, it says, "I was at a loss to know how to investigate these things, so I asked him whether he would be willing to stand trial on these charges in Jerusalem. But Paul appealed to have his case decided by the emperor, so I ordered that he be held in custody until I could arrange to send him to Caesar. I'd like to hear for myself," Agrippa said, and Festus replied, "You will tomorrow." So the next day, Agrippa and Bernice arrived at the auditorium with great pomp, accompanied by military officers and prominent men of the city. Festus ordered that Paul be brought in. And then Festus said, "King Agrippa and all who are here, this is the man whose death is demanded by all the Jews, both here and in Jerusalem." Okay, so Jake just wanted blood, man. Okay, Jake had no reasoning, man. You see, niggas just wanted blood, man. It said, "But in my opinion, he has done nothing deserving death. However, since he appealed his case to the emperor, I have decided to send him to Rome. But what shall I write the emperor? For there is no clear charge against him. So I have brought him before all of you, and especially you, King Agrippa, so that after we examine him, I might have something to write. For it makes no sense to send a prisoner to emperor without specifying the charges against him. Okay, so Jake didn't have nothing to stick. Okay, and they were reaching even within the Roman law. They couldn't. They still didn't have no way to prove that he was offended and he was against Rome. And that's why Yahweh Shai. I got something in the chat. A little history I want to get to in the chat, but that's why Yahweh Shai gave us certain commands on how to be. That has us blameless. Now, if we get falsely accused, then that's what it is. As long as we're blameless before Yahweh Bashim Shai. All right. When you go to the book of Matthew, okay, this is Matthew 10 and 16. And I read this in the KJV. Because Yahweh Shai gave us a protocol on how to be that leaves us blameless, okay, to where they're just going to have to lie. But as long as we're blameless in the eyes of Yahweh Bashim Shai, that's the only thing that matters. Okay, because we're going to be falsely accused. They're going to heap up charges. Esau got AI now. Esau got AI me. Okay, so the devil has AI. Yeah, niggas got AI. You see? So these niggas going to heap up charges, man. But the thing is, if we walk according to Yahweh Bashim Shai, the way he told us to be, it makes us blameless, man. Matthew 10 and 16, behold, I send you forth as sheep in the midst of wolves. Be ye therefore wise as serpents and harmless as doves. Okay? So Yahweh Shai told us what to be wise as serpents, man. To apply wisdom and be harmless as doves. Okay, so that's why we're not here to stir up riots. Okay, we're not here to be militant. Okay, to form militias and threaten coups on the government and be reckless with how we speak and how we teach. Okay, we don't pose a physical threat, okay, to the government, man. Okay, we're in the spiritual war. Okay, edifying the elect, that's spiritual war. That's fortifying their minds against enchantments. Okay, that's our war. You see, and we don't show no posture of militant or seditious. Okay, off camera, how we move with our Apostle Paul. Let's go here. Let me see. I think that's in Romans. Let me see. In Romans 12 and 18, it said, if it be possible, and much as lieth in you, live peaceably with all men. So the truth is not meant for us to be rowdy and rah-rah. Okay? We're here to teach, man. We're here to edify. We're here to be brotherly. When we're out and about, we still apply wisdom, man. And if possible, as much lieth in us, we live peaceably with all men. They say that's why we're not here, on the microphone just to yell at people passing by like that. That style is past, man. The Lord has matured us to a point to where we're here to edify the elect, man. We can go out in the midst of the busiest, places of concourse and the brother just edifying the camera because most people ain't listening. You know, Jake not coming up by the droves to listen. So most time we're just edifying the camera, man. You know, and we move about our day to day. Brothers got good reputations in all establishments that they go. You know, you go to a place that a brother has frequented a few times and it's your first time going with the brother. You know, the staff love the brother. You know, you looking for them. You know, brothers go places at groups. You know, the staff be looking for brothers. You see, and we know that even with that, all that can turn to hate. But see, it's going to be false. You know, we know even all that can turn to hate when Esau pushes propaganda, but it's going to be false. You know, but the Lord gave us a way to move behind enemy lines. Okay, let not thy right hand know what thy left hand doing. Okay, not to just be all out in the open, the super Hebrew. That's why they got fringes everywhere. So now you got to explain the fringes most places you go, or this already Esau can link, you know, the fringes to, you know, domestic tea. Okay, no, we was taught how to we was taught a way to move in this thing, man. Okay, with wisdom, you know, and it's making us blameless. Now, real quick, I want to get this little info in the chat real quick, just concerning, you know, certain characters in Acts 25 and a little history. So let's go here to the chat. Let's just look at a few things. This is the book of Acts. It's like this is a chat dealing with the book of Acts, chapter 25. So I just asked who was King Agrippa and what was the character of Festus. So it was as King Agrippa in Acts 25 is Herod Agrippa II. He is the great grandson of Herod the Great, the Herod who ruled at Yahushua's birth. It says he ruled parts of northern Palestine, not Judea itself, under Roman authority. Though called king, he was really a client ruler of Rome. He was well versed in Israelite law and custom, which is why Festus wanted his opinion about Paul's case. Okay, so he was uh you know, like a counselor and advisor to Festus, you know, dealing with, you know, the laws and customs, you know, of the Jews. Okay, it says why he matters in Acts 25. Agrippa wasn't judging Paul formally, but Festus hoped Agrippa could help him understand the religious accusations against Paul, especially since the charges were theological and not criminal. It says Porcius Festus was a Roman governor, procurator of Judea, succeeding Felix. His character comes across as more just and decisive than Felix. He didn't keep Paul in prison hoping for a bribe as Felix had. Politically cautious, he wanted to keep peace with the Israelite leaders and avoid unrest. Pragmatic but religiously ignorant, he openly admitted he didn't understand, all right, Israelite theological disputes. It says respectful of Roman law, he acknowledged Paul's right to fair trial and honored Paul's appeal to Caesar. It says key tension. He knew Paul was innocent of any crime deserving death, yet he was stuck trying to please the Jews while staying within the Roman legal boundaries because them wicked niggas knew that uh, the governor, you know, of Judea, the Roman governor of Judea, of their province, okay, was there to keep the peace, you know, to quell any, you know, unrest, okay? And them niggas will always use, you know, their card that they would buck up if things didn't go their way. Nigga would throw tantrum, you know, if something didn't go their way. So those governors were pressured, okay, to kind of, you know, appease them niggas to a degree, man, okay? Um, so I asked about who was the Caesar when Paul appealed to Festus, when he appealed to Caesar. Well, who was the Caesar? So when you go into it, says who was Caesar when Paul appealed to Festus? It says the Caesar was Nero, and the one and only. When Paul appeared to Caesar before Festus, the emperor was Nero. All right, was Nero, Claudius Caesar, Augustus, Germanicus. This appeal likely happened around AD 59. Some dated late 58 or early 59, but 59 is the most common. At this point, Nero was still early in his reign. He became emperor in 54 AD and had not yet begun the extreme persecution he's famous for. Okay, so he was still Nero, he was still the Caesar when Paul arrived. It said Paul was sent to Rome and eventually arrived during Nero's reign, not a later emperor. Acts ends with Paul living under house arrest in Rome, still awaiting his hearing before Nero. So appeal was to Nero and he was arrived, Nero was still there. So from appeal to arrival, about 1 to 2 years, depending how you count. So here's the rough breakdown. Appeal before Festus in 59, imprisonment in Caesarea after appeal, several months, voyage to Rome late AD, shipwreck at Malta, winter of AD 59 through 60, stayed in Malta 3 months, arrived in Rome spring AD 60, some say 61. From the moment Paul appealed to Caesar until he stepped into Rome, roughly 1 year, possibly stretching closer to a year if you include the delays. So yeah, he eventually made it to Rome, and we know eventually he was beheaded, okay, under Nero. Okay, goddamn devil. That nigga back to get his judgment, man. So everything is full circle. And it's beautiful how the Lord, has this thing set up. So that was it on the book of Acts 25. Lord will, you brothers, all right, and you sisters edified once again. I want to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Kapadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples to his younger brothers. And peace and blessings, salutation, and hopefully, shalom.